Arun worked on the orbital station near Jupiter, a lonely place where the silence of space felt endless. The station floated above the swirling storms of the giant planet, a massive metal structure that creaked and hummed with the rhythm of machines. Arun was used to the routine of repairs, tightening bolts, checking panels, and fixing whatever broke. His hands were steady, his suit old but reliable, and his mind calm from years of the same tasks. He often thought life on the station was dull, but he accepted it as his way of living. That day began like any other. Arun floated outside the main hull, tethered by a safety line as he worked on a malfunctioning sensor. He enjoyed the view, the sight of Jupiter's orange and red clouds shifting below, lightning flashing deep inside the storms. For him, it was the one reward of this work, to see beauty that no one on Earth could see so closely. As he adjusted the sensor, something unusual caught his eye. At first, he thought it was space debris, maybe a broken piece of satellite or a chunk of rock. It glimmered faintly, moving slowly in the distance. Arun frowned and tapped his helmet to zoom in with the visor. What he saw made him pause. It was not a rock or metal scrap. It looked like a small pod, smooth and oval, drifting without power. Arun felt his heart beat faster. Objects drifting near the station could be dangerous, but this one seemed intact. His first thought was to call it into the command deck, but something in him resisted. He decided to inspect it first. Using his thrusters, he carefully moved toward the strange pod, his tether stretching but still secure. When he reached it, he was surprised again. The pod was not human-made. Its surface was seamless, no bolts, no panels, no markings he recognized. It almost looked alive, like a shell rather than a machine. He touched it with his gloved hand, and it felt warm, not cold like metal should be. Arun shivered, a strange unease spreading through him. "Control, this is Arun," he said into the COMM. "I found something. A pod, not ours. Looks intact. I am bringing it in." There was a pause, then the captain's voice replied, calm but firm. "Arun, you know protocol. Unknown objects must be scanned from a distance before recovery. Do not bring it near the station." Arun hesitated. He knew the rules, but something in his gut told him this was not just debris. He looked again at the pod and noticed a faint flicker inside, like movement. His breath caught. There was someone, or something, alive in there. "I understand, Captain," Arun answered carefully, "but I see signs of life inside. If we leave it drifting, it will die." Silence followed his words. The captain finally sighed. "All right, Arun. Bring it in, but keep it sealed until we check. If this is trouble, it's on you." With effort, Arun attached a magnetic clamp to the pod and pulled it slowly toward the station's airlock. The pod resisted slightly, like it weighed more than expected, but he managed. Once inside, the pod was placed in the quarantine chamber. The crew gathered, curious and tense. The pod pulsed faintly with light, like a heartbeat. Hours passed before the outer shell cracked open. Everyone stepped back, ready for danger, but what emerged was nothing like they imagined. A figure slowly rose from the pod. It was a girl, or at least she looked like one. Her skin was pale, almost glowing, with faint silver lines running along her arms like patterns carved by light. Her hair floated softly around her face, shimmering as if touched by starlight. Her eyes opened, wide and unblinking, reflecting the chamber lights with strange clarity. The crew gasped, but Arun stepped closer, despite the warning shouts. The girl's movements were slow, weak, as if she had been asleep for a long time. She looked around with confusion, fear in her gaze, yet she did not attack or speak. Arun raised his hand gently, showing no threat. "It's all right," he said softly. "You're safe." The girl tilted her head, watching him closely. She did not answer but seemed to listen, her eyes fixed on his face. Arun noticed how fragile she looked, like she could break with the smallest push. His heart felt heavy with responsibility. The captain spoke from behind the glass. "Arun, do not approach further. We don't know what she is." But Arun ignored the warning. He felt something in her eyes, something human even if she was not. He slowly offered her a container of water. At first, she did not move, then her hand reached out, trembling, and touched it. She drank carefully, spilling drops, then looked at Arun with what seemed like wonder. The crew whispered among themselves. Some wanted to call Central Command immediately, others wanted to keep her hidden. The debate grew heated, but Arun remained silent, his focus only on the strange girl who now sat quietly, clutching the empty water container like it was a precious gift. As hours passed, she stayed close to Arun whenever he entered the chamber. She followed his motions with her eyes, copying small movements, trying to understand. She had not spoken a word yet, but it was clear she was learning. For the first time in many years, Arun felt his routine life change. The silence of space was broken, not by machines or storms, but by the arrival of a being who carried secrets beyond imagination. He did not know who she was or why she had been drifting near Jupiter, but he knew one thing clearly. She was alive, and she had chosen him as the first human to trust. That thought alone made his heart race. The encounter had just begun, and Arun sensed that nothing on the station or perhaps even for humanity would be the same again. The station carried on with its usual rhythm, but the presence of the alien girl changed everything. The crew could not keep their eyes off her. She sat in the quarantine chamber at first, weak but alert, watching every movement with sharp attention. Arun visited her often, bringing food, water, and simple objects to test her reaction. At first, she only stared, her silver-marked skin glowing faintly under the station lights. She touched everything with care, turning objects in her hands, as if trying to learn their purpose. The crew whispered among themselves, some nervous, some curious. The captain remained cautious, reminding everyone that she was not human, but nobody could deny that she looked harmless. Arun felt a strange responsibility. When he entered, the girl's eyes followed him as if he were the only one she trusted. If another crew member tried to approach, she stayed still, her gaze cool and guarded. But when Arun stepped near, she leaned forward, almost like she wanted to understand him better. One day, Arun brought her a data pad. He showed her pictures, trees, rivers, mountains, cities, and faces of humans. She tilted her head and traced the images with her slender fingers. She tapped the screen lightly and looked at him, as if asking for meaning. "That's Earth," Arun explained. "My home. Our home." He pointed at a picture of a tree. "Tree," he said slowly. He repeated the word until she opened her mouth and echoed softly, "T-re." The sound was rough but clear enough to recognize. Arun's eyes widened in surprise. She could mimic speech. Excitement spread through the chamber as the crew realized she was trying to communicate. Arun spent hours teaching her simple words. He pointed to food and said bread. He pointed to water and said water. The girl repeated after him, sometimes struggling, sometimes getting it right. She learned faster than anyone expected. Within a few days, she had a small set of words, enough to name things around her. The crew began calling her Myra, a name Arun had chosen. It felt natural to him, and when he spoke it, the girl responded quickly, as though she accepted it. Myra. The name fit her, soft yet mysterious. But words were not enough. Arun wanted to understand her, to know where she had come from. One evening, when most of the crew were busy with their shifts, Arun sat in the chamber with her. He tapped his chest gently. "Arun," he said. He pointed to her. "You." Myra hesitated. She pressed her hand to her chest but said nothing. Her eyes flickered with uncertainty. Then she whispered, Myra. Arun frowned. No, not name I gave. Your name. Your real one. Myra lowered her gaze. She struggled to form words, her lips moving without sound. Finally, she shook her head, as if she could not remember. Arun realized with a chill that perhaps she truly did not know, or perhaps her language was too different to translate. Still, progress came quickly. Myra began to copy not just words, but gestures. When Arun smiled, she attempted the same, though awkwardly. When he laughed at a small joke, she tilted her head, then tried to mimic the sound. The crew noticed her fascination with laughter most of all. It was foreign to her, yet she kept testing it, like she wanted to understand why humans did it. Days passed, and Myra grew stronger. She walked around the chamber, touching the walls, studying the lights. Her movements became graceful, almost fluid, like a dancer learning steps. But no matter what she did, her eyes always returned to Arun. One night, during a quiet watch, Arun sat by the glass with a small recorder. He played soft music from Earth, gentle notes from an old string instrument. Myra froze when the sound filled the chamber. Her eyes widened, and she stepped closer to the speaker. Slowly, she knelt on the floor, her head tilted, her hand pressed to her chest as if the music touched something deep inside. You like it? Arun asked softly. She turned her face toward him, her lips parting. She whispered, beautiful. The word came clearly, more fluent than before. Arun's heart raced. She was learning not just names of things, but feelings too. The next morning, the captain called Arun to the command deck. Central Command is asking for reports, the captain said, his voice heavy. We cannot keep this secret forever. If they know we have her, they will send a retrieval team. She will be taken away. Arun felt a wave of unease. He had grown attached to Myra, even if she was alien. He did not want her to become a subject locked in a laboratory on Earth. She's not dangerous, Arun insisted. She's learning. She's more like us than we think. That may be, the captain replied, but the decision may not be ours to make. Arun returned to the chamber with a heavy mind. Myra noticed his mood immediately. She stepped closer, her expression calm but questioning. She raised her hand and touched the glass separating them. Arun placed his hand against the same spot. For a moment, they stayed still, two beings from different worlds, connected only by the thin barrier. Myra's lips moved, and a word slipped out. Friend. Arun froze. He had not taught her that word yet. Somehow, she had pieced it together from his explanations of trust and kindness. Hearing her say it struck him deeply. Yes, Arun whispered. Friend. From that moment, Myra's progress accelerated. She strung words together, short but meaningful. Food good. Arun come. Myra stay. Each phrase was like a step toward a bridge between their worlds. The crew began to soften as well. Even those who had doubted her started leaving small items in her chamber, flowers printed from the hydroponics lab, bright cloth scraps, even books with pictures. Myra accepted each gift with quiet wonder. Still, questions lingered. Where had she come from? Why had she been drifting alone in that pod? And most of all, why did she seem so fascinated by simple human habits like laughter, music, and kindness? Arun felt that answers would come in time. For now, he focused on the bond they were building. Each day she learned, each day she changed, and each day he realized that she was no ordinary visitor from the stars. One evening, as he left the chamber, she whispered something new. Arun, safe. The words were broken, but the meaning was clear. Arun smiled, his heart warm. In her eyes, he was not just a stranger. He was the first human she trusted, the first connection to a world she was only beginning to understand. The orbital station had never felt so alive. Before Myra came, the crew spoke little outside of duty, passing each other in narrow halls with tired nods. Now, every member of the crew found excuses to watch her, to listen to the strange rhythm of her voice as she shaped new words, or to see her eyes widen when she discovered something new. But Myra's learning was not only about language. She wanted to understand how humans lived. Every small detail, every action, seemed important to her. She watched how the crew laughed after meals, how they teased each other, how they argued, then forgave. These things puzzled her most of all. One morning, Arun brought a simple tray of food into her chamber. Bread, soup, and fruit from the hydroponics lab. Myra examined it as always, touching each item before tasting. But then she did something unexpected. She broke the bread in half and held one piece out toward Arun. He blinked, surprised. "For me?" She nodded slowly. Her voice was still soft, but she said, "Share." Arun smiled and took the bread. "Yes. Share." Myra repeated the word, testing it on her tongue. Her eyes lit up, as if the meaning carried more weight than she first guessed. Later that day, Arun sat with two crew members, Tomash and Rina, in the dining area. They laughed about a broken water pipe that had sprayed the engineering deck. Myra sat nearby, watching closely. When Tomash laughed, clutching his stomach, Myra tilted her head in confusion. She pointed and asked, "Why sound?" "Pain." Rina chuckled. "Not pain, Myra. That's laughter. It happens when something is funny." "Funny?" Myra repeated. Arun tried to explain. "When something makes you feel light. Happy in a sudden way. Then you laugh." Myra frowned, clearly struggling. She placed her hand on her chest. "Happy?" "Yes," Arun said, smiling gently. "Happy." Myra stared at Tomash again, then suddenly tried to copy his laugh. It came out rough and strange, a broken echo of the sound. The crew burst out laughing again, not out of mockery but pure surprise. Myra blinked, then tried again, this time a little smoother. Her face softened as she realized she had done it right. "Laughter," she said proudly. The room warmed with cheer. For the first time, Myra seemed to feel part of their group. Over the following days, her curiosity deepened. She asked questions about everything: why the crew slept at certain hours, why they ate together, why they used names. Names fascinated her most. In her careful speech, she asked Arun one evening, "Why names?" Arun thought for a moment. "Names help us know each other. They show we are more than just bodies. Each of us is different, and a name belongs only to one person." Myra looked down, silent. After a pause, she whispered, "No name before Myra." The words made Arun pause. Did her people not use names? Did they only see themselves as part of a whole, not as individuals? The thought unsettled him. He realized how vast the gap was between her culture and his own. Another time, Arun found her in the corner of the chamber, staring at two crew members through the glass. They were sitting close, whispering, holding hands. Myra pointed at them. "Why touch hands?" Arun hesitated. "Because they care about each other. Holding hands makes them feel close." "Close," Myra repeated. She looked at her own hands, then slowly placed one against the glass toward Arun. Arun raised his hand and pressed it against the same spot. The barrier kept them apart, yet Myra's eyes softened. "Close," she whispered again. Moments like this filled Arun with a strange warmth, but they also troubled him. Myra was learning quickly, but she came from a world where these ideas, sharing, laughter, names, closeness, did not exist. How could a whole people live without them? One night, Arun stayed late in the chamber. Myra was more talkative now, piecing together simple sentences. He asked her about her people, hoping to learn more. Myra looked uneasy, her silver lines dimming slightly. My people, no laugh. No share. Only duty. Arun leaned closer. Duty. Yes. Work together. Survive. No happy. No sad. Only live. The simplicity of her words struck him harder than he expected. An entire civilization built only on duty, stripped of joy, stripped of feeling. Arun imagined a life without laughter, without names, without the warmth of a hand held in trust. His chest tightened at the thought. No family, he asked carefully. Myra shook her head. No family. All same. Arun realized then why Myra clung to every new word, every small human habit. For her, this was discovery beyond survival. This was discovery of the soul. In the days that followed, she tried to join more of the crew's routines. She sat near the dining hall when they ate. She watched as they told stories, sometimes repeating words from the tales, her eyes glowing as if trying to imagine. She even joined a simple card game, though she did not understand the rules. When she lost, she looked puzzled, but when the others laughed and smiled at her effort, she smiled too. The gap between her world and theirs was wide, but each day the bridge grew stronger. One evening, while Arun repaired a broken panel inside the station, Myra surprised him again. She entered the workshop with permission from the captain, holding a small tool she had borrowed. She watched his movements, then crouched beside him, mimicking his motions. You, help, she asked. Arun chuckled. Yes, you can help. For the next hour, she handed him tools, studied his hands, and even tightened a few bolts herself. She was clumsy, but determined. At the end, she sat cross-legged, proud of her work. Arun wiped his hands and smiled. Good job, Myra. Her face lit up at the praise. Good job, she repeated, then pointed at him. Friend Arun. Arun's heart swelled at the words. He nodded. Yes, friend Myra. When he left the workshop that night, he thought deeply about what she had said before. A people without laughter, without family, without names. For Myra, every step in learning human ways was not just curiosity, it was revolution. She was carrying more than just her own experience. She was carrying a piece of her world's emptiness, and filling it with something new. As he lay in his bunk later, the thought echoed in his mind. If Myra's people truly had no concept of emotion, what would happen if they discovered it now? Would they see it as weakness or as power? He did not know the answer, but he felt certain that Myra was not drifting into his life by chance. She was a sign that something greater was coming, and humanity was at the heart of it. Life on the orbital station had slowly settled into a new rhythm. Myra was no longer only a visitor locked in the quarantine chamber. She walked the narrow corridors now, under watch but with more freedom. The crew had grown used to her quiet presence, her glowing skin, and her endless curiosity. Though some still kept a careful distance, most had accepted that she meant no harm. For Arun, her presence had become part of his days. Wherever he went, Myra followed closely, watching him work, handing him tools, or asking questions in her slow but steady speech. He had grown used to explaining even the simplest things: how wires carried power, how doors opened with sensors, how meals were prepared. Each time she learned something new, her eyes lit up like stars, and Arun felt an odd pride, as if teaching her gave meaning to his long, quiet life in space. One shift began with trouble in the outer panel system. A section of the hull had shorted, disrupting a small portion of the power grid. Arun and Rina suited up and went outside to repair it. Myra insisted on coming, but the captain denied her. She stood at the airlock window, watching silently as the two humans floated into open space. The repair took hours. The stormy planet spun beneath them, vast and silent, its swirling clouds stretching as far as the eye could see. Arun fixed most of the circuits, but one stubborn cable refused to lock in place. He grunted in frustration, sweat building inside his suit. Rina steadied him, holding the panel open as he worked. Finally, with a firm push, the cable clicked into position. Arun sighed in relief. "There we go." "Thanks, love," he said casually, handing the tool back to Rina. It was a simple slip of speech, the kind humans often used without thought. Rina only chuckled and shook her head. But behind the window of the airlock, Myra's eyes widened. She froze, her entire body stiff, as if the sound of the word had struck her like a shock wave. When the two returned inside, Myra did not move. She stood silently in the corridor, her gaze locked on Arun. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Love." Arun blinked, surprised. "What?" Myra stepped closer. "You said, love." Her voice carried a strange weight, as though the word itself had shaken her more than any discovery before. Arun rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed. "Oh, that. It's just a saying. People sometimes say it without meaning anything serious." But Myra did not look satisfied. She repeated the word again, more firmly this time. "Love. What is love?" The hallway fell quiet. Rina glanced at Arun with raised brows, then slipped away, leaving the two alone. Arun felt Myra's eyes on him, waiting. He swallowed, suddenly aware of how hard it was to explain something humans took for granted. He spoke slowly. "Love is, when you care about someone more than yourself. When their happiness matters more than your own. It is the deepest feeling we have. Stronger than duty, stronger than survival." Myra's silver-marked skin glowed faintly brighter. She pressed her hand to her chest, as if trying to feel the word inside her. "No word, no meaning, in my people," she whispered. "Only duty. No love." Her voice cracked slightly, though no tears came. She stood silent, lost in thought. Arun felt a pang of sympathy. He realized that for her, the word was not casual at all. It was something entirely new, a concept her people had never known. She had learned sharing, laughter, friendship, but this was different. This was deeper, more powerful. Over the next days, Myra grew unusually quiet. She still followed Arun, still copied his words, but she often paused and stared at him, as if measuring something invisible. She asked again and again, "Love, feeling. Not duty. Not need." "Yes," Arun always answered. "Love is not about survival. It is about choosing to care. Even when you don't have to." Her eyes searched his face as though she were trying to see the truth in his expression. One evening, the crew gathered in the dining hall. They shared food, laughed at old stories, and listened to soft music from Earth. Myra sat among them, though she spoke little. When a pair of crew members leaned close and shared a quiet smile, Myra pointed. "They love?" she asked Arun. Arun nodded gently. "Yes. They love each other." Myra lowered her gaze. "Strange. My people, never close. No love. Only work, only order." She paused, then whispered, "Empty." The word struck Arun's heart. He saw now why she froze when she heard him say it. For her, love was not just a word. It was a missing piece she had never imagined before. That night, Arun found her standing by the observation window, staring at Jupiter's storms. Her voice was soft when she spoke. "Why humans have love? Why not only survive?" Arun stood beside her. "Maybe because without it, survival feels empty. Love gives meaning to living. Without it, life is only work. With it, life is more." Myra turned her glowing eyes toward him. She whispered the word again, "Love," tasting it as if it carried power. Then she placed her hand gently on his arm, the first time she had ever touched him without hesitation. Arun froze, startled by the gesture. But he saw no fear in her, only searching. She whispered, "Teach me." The request left him speechless. How could he teach something that humans themselves struggled to define? Yet in that moment, he understood that to Myra, love was not just a human feeling. It was a discovery that could reshape her entire people. From that day forward, Myra asked more questions. She studied how crew members comforted one another, how they protected each other during danger, how they spoke gently when someone was tired or afraid. She began to see patterns, to connect the threads of emotion humans shared. And though she did not say it aloud, Arun noticed how her eyes lingered on him most of all. The word he had spoken so casually had become something vast for her. It was no longer just a slip of speech. It was a key unlocking a part of life her kind had never known. Weeks passed since Myra first heard the word that shook her to her core. She repeated it often, whispering it as if it were sacred, trying to understand its true shape. Arun taught her more about feelings, kindness, care, trust, and friendship. But love remained the word she returned to again and again, as if her entire being depended on it. Life on the station continued, but the crew sensed a change in the air. Myra was no longer only a guest or a mystery. She was becoming part of them. She helped carry supplies, joined meals, and even laughed at simple jokes, though the sound was still awkward. For the first time in her life, she was part of something greater than survival. Then one morning, alarms blared through the station. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom, sharp and tense. Unidentified vessel detected. Large. Approaching fast. Arun hurried to the command deck with the rest of the crew. Through the wide observation glass, they saw it, a massive ship sliding out of the darkness. Its shape was unlike any human craft. It was smooth and seamless, without engines or panels visible. It glowed faintly as if alive, its silver surface reflecting Jupiter's light. Myra entered quietly, her face pale. The moment her eyes fell on the ship, her glowing marks flickered. Her body stiffened, and she whispered a single word in her own tongue, a sound none of them had heard before. Arun turned to her. "Myra, is that your people?" She did not answer right away. Her hands trembled at her sides. Finally, she nodded. "Yes. My people." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The ship stopped a short distance away from the station. A deep hum filled the air, and then a voice spoke through the comms. It was calm, even, and cold. "To the human vessel. We seek the one who belongs to us. Release her, and no harm will come." The captain stiffened. "This is Captain Rao of Station Helios. Who are you, and what claim do you have?" The voice replied without hesitation. "The one you call Myra is of our kind. She carries knowledge vital to us. She is not yours. Return her." The words sank into the crew like a weight. Arun looked at Myra. Her face was blank, but her eyes shimmered with conflict. Later, in the briefing room, the captain spoke firmly. "Central Command must be informed. This is not something we can decide alone." But Arun's thoughts were not on command or orders. He watched Myra sitting silently at the table, her gaze fixed on the floor. She looked smaller than ever, caught between two worlds. When they were alone, Arun knelt beside her. "What knowledge are they talking about?" Myra hesitated, then spoke slowly. "I am carrier. Memory of my people. Each cycle, one is chosen. Holds history. Holds learning. I was chosen. But Pod, lost. I, lost." Arun frowned. "You're saying they need you to return what you hold?" She nodded. "Yes. But if I return, I forget. They will take memories. All I learn here, gone. Her voice trembled on the last word. Arun realized then why she looked so afraid. It was not the ship, nor her people, it was the thought of losing everything she had discovered here. Laughter. Friendship. Sharing. Love. All of it erased. You don't want to go back, do you? Arun asked quietly. Myra shook her head. No, I want to keep. I want to know more. I want love. The words struck Arun deep. He felt torn, knowing the captain might have no choice but to hand her over. To resist an alien vessel was dangerous. But to send Myra back, stripped of everything she had learned, felt like a betrayal of everything she had become. The crew debated fiercely. Some argued they should comply for safety. Others whispered that Myra was too important to humanity, that she could teach them things no one else could. Arun remained silent through most of it, his heart heavy. Finally, the captain turned to Myra herself. Do you wish to stay, or do you wish to return? Myra's eyes flickered. She looked at Arun, then at the floor. Her voice was steady when she spoke. I wish to stay. I wish to remember. The decision shook the room. The captain rubbed his forehead. Her people will not accept that answer easily. Sure enough, the alien voice returned later, colder than before. She must return. She is ours. Refusal will bring consequence. The crew gathered at the observation deck. The alien ship loomed silently, its surface shifting with faint pulses of light. Arun stood close to Myra, his jaw set. She seemed calm on the outside, but he could see her hands trembling again. That night, Arun found her alone in the chamber. She sat by the small speaker where he had once played music for her, holding the recorder gently in her hands. The soft notes of the old earth melody filled the air. She whispered, if I go, this gone. If I stay, danger comes. What do I do? Arun knelt beside her. You've already answered. You want to stay. And we will fight to protect you. Myra turned her glowing eyes to him, filled with both fear and hope. Fight? Humans, fight for me. Arun smiled faintly. Not just for you. For what you've learned, for what you mean. For love. The word made her breath catch. She pressed her hand to her chest again, whispering it like a vow. Love. The next day, the alien ship sent a direct signal. Return her now. Final warning. The station fell silent under the weight of the threat. The crew looked to the captain, uncertain. Arun stood tall, his gaze fixed on the great silver vessel outside. He knew then that the choice was not only Myra's. It was also humanity's. To protect her was to risk conflict with a powerful unknown race. But to give her up was to abandon the very heart of what made them human. And so, Arun made his choice. He stepped forward and spoke into the COMM. She stays. The words echoed through the station. Myra's people had found her at last, but she had chosen humanity instead. The shadow of her past had caught up with her, but she was no longer the same as when she left it behind. She had learned something her people never knew. And she would not let it be taken away. The alien ship hovered near the station, its silver surface shimmering in Jupiter's faint light. Its presence was immense, almost oppressive, and the hum of its engines resonated through the station like a distant heartbeat. Myra stood at the observation window, her glowing eyes fixed on it. Arun approached cautiously, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. They are waiting for you, he said softly. Myra nodded, her lips pressed together. They want obedience. Not choice. Not love. Arun's chest tightened. He understood now that this moment would define not only her future but the future of their relationship. He looked around the command deck at the anxious crew. Everyone knew the danger they faced. One wrong move could spark a battle they could not win. The comm system crackled, and the cold voice of the alien leader filled the station. You defy us. You know the consequences. Return immediately, or we will take her by force. Myra stepped forward, her small frame glowing with determination. I will not return. I will not forget what I have learned. I will not lose, her voice faltered, but she pressed on. I will not lose love. The words echoed through the room. The alien voice paused, almost in disbelief. You speak of what your kind does not understand. You are not yet ready to carry such knowledge. Return or be taken. Arun stepped in front of Myra, his hands raised, not in threat but in calm authority. She has learned what your people do not understand. She has discovered something that cannot be taken away. Love is not weakness. It is strength. It is the reason we survive, the reason we care for one another. The alien voice hesitated, as if Arun's words were unexpected. The crew held their breath, knowing that the slightest misstep could trigger violence. Arun continued, his voice steady. We do not ask for conflict. We do not seek war. But she is learning what makes humans strong. You cannot erase it without destroying her. She is not property. She is alive, and she has chosen her path. Myra's glowing marks flickered as she listened. She could feel the weight of her people's judgment, yet Arun's words grounded her. For the first time, she realized that choosing to stay was more than personal. It was a statement of life, of freedom, of discovery. The alien leader's voice finally returned, tinged with frustration. You defy us, human. Do you understand the consequences? You cannot protect her forever. Arun's gaze did not waver. We will protect her for as long as we must. And you will see that love is not a weakness. It is a bond, a power that shapes worlds. She will not be taken, because what she carries now belongs to life itself, not just to your people. The alien ship pulsed, and for a moment, the station trembled as if the vessel tested its strength. Myra stood taller beside Arun. She raised her hands and spoke in her language, the first time she had addressed her people directly in confrontation. I will not obey your command. I will not return. I have learned something more important than duty. I have learned love. Silence filled the station. The crew stared in awe, watching her stand bravely, glowing faintly with the intensity of her emotions. Arun could see that her words were more than defiance. They were a declaration, a bridge between two species, a statement that humanity's way of life, its compassion, its care was something to be honored, even by those who had never known it. The alien leader spoke again, slower this time. Your kind, strange. Your ways, unknown. You defy reason, yet your choice is made. We will leave, for now. But know this: she is ours by law of birth. Do not test patience again. With that, the massive ship slowly pulled away, leaving the station in a tense calm. Myra sank to the floor, trembling, and Arun knelt beside her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You did it, he said quietly. You stood for what you believe. You faced them and did not back down. Myra's glowing eyes softened. I did not do it alone. You taught me. You showed me, humans. Arun smiled, his heart swelling. You already knew what mattered. You only needed to see it in action. Over the following days, life on the station returned to a cautious normal. The alien vessel had gone, but its shadow lingered in the minds of the crew. Myra, however, had changed. She was more confident, more expressive, and more determined than ever. She asked questions about emotions, about how humans comfort each other, how they choose friends, how they help strangers. One evening, Arun found her near the observation window again. Jupiter glowed beneath them, storms swirling like oceans in the sky. Myra placed her hands on the glass and whispered, "Love is strong. Stronger than fear. Stronger than rules." Arun nodded. Yes. That's why humans survive. We care, we protect, and we never stop learning. Love makes us stronger, even when it seems fragile. Myra turned to him, her silver marks glowing warmly. I will not forget. I will teach, when I can. I will show my people, someday. Arun felt a chill of awe. He realized that Myra was no longer only a student. She had become a teacher, carrying the seed of humanity into the wider galaxy. What she had learned could change her people, perhaps even others they might encounter. The crew watched quietly, understanding the gravity of what had happened. A single alien girl had stood up to her people, guided by the lessons of humanity, and had survived. More than that, she had brought a new understanding into her world, the understanding of care, compassion, and love. Myra spent that night awake, studying the stars, her mind alive with thoughts of the future. Arun left her to her contemplation, knowing that tomorrow, and every day after, would be a journey of discovery for both of them. For Myra, humanity had taught her more than survival. It had taught her life. And for Arun, seeing her embrace those lessons had reminded him of something he had almost forgotten: the power of caring for another being, no matter how different they were. The choice had been made. Myra stayed. She defied her people. And humanity, through Arun's simple courage and belief, had shown that love was not only a word. It was a force strong enough to bridge worlds. The days after the alien ship had left were quiet but full of new energy. Myra moved freely through the station, no longer afraid, no longer uncertain. She had learned that Arun and the crew would protect her, and that the word that had changed her life, love, was not just an idea, but a living force she could feel in every gesture, every smile, every act of kindness around her. Arun watched her closely, noting the changes. She laughed more often now, though it was still soft and unusual to human ears. She joined meals with the crew, carried tools for the engineers, and even helped in the hydroponics lab, planting small seedlings alongside them. Every time she completed a task, she would look at Arun, glowing faintly, and whisper, "Good, yes. Very good, Myra," Arun would reply, smiling. "You are learning fast." The crew had grown fond of her as well. Even the captain, once skeptical, now left small gifts for her: a printed picture of Earth's forests, a bright-colored cloth, or a simple note of encouragement. Myra accepted each gift with quiet wonder, her glowing eyes reflecting the thoughtfulness behind them. One morning, Arun led Myra to the observation deck. The station hovered above Jupiter, the storms of the planet glowing beneath them. Myra pressed her hands to the glass, staring at the swirling clouds. "Beautiful," she whispered. "Yes," Arun said. "It is. But not as beautiful as what you have discovered here." Myra tilted her head. "Love." Arun nodded. "Yes. Love, care, friendship. Things your people never taught. Things that make life more than survival." Myra's glowing marks pulsed gently. "I understand now. I will not forget. I will take this with me always." Arun placed his hand over hers. "That is the most important thing. You do not have to be afraid of your past or your people. You can choose your path now." For the first time, Myra smiled fully, a real expression of warmth and understanding. "My path, with humans. With friends." The station's life continued. Myra explored areas she had not visited before: the engineering deck, the small gardens, even the recreation hall. She learned games, simple puzzles, and storytelling. She asked questions constantly, not only about words but about feelings, about why humans hugged, why they comforted one another when sad, why they celebrated small victories. Each answer shaped her understanding, each moment strengthened her connection to this new world. One evening, Arun brought her a small telescope. "Look at Earth," he said. "You may never walk there, but you can see it. Imagine life down there. Imagine the people, the rivers, the trees. Imagine the families, the friends, the love. Myra peered through the lens, her eyes wide as she studied the distant planet. She whispered softly, "All life has love." "Most life does," Arun replied. "And it is what keeps it strong, what gives it hope. Even across space, it travels, connecting beings in ways your people cannot imagine." Myra stayed at the observation deck long after Arun left. She thought about her people, about the pod that had sent her drifting into space, about the alien ship that had come to retrieve her. But she also thought about laughter, warmth, music, shared meals, and friendship. Most of all, she thought about the word that had changed her understanding forever: love. Days later, the captain called a meeting. "We will send a message to Earth about Myra," he said. "They will want to study her, but I trust we can manage it carefully. She will not be treated as a subject, but as a guest." Myra listened quietly. Her glowing marks flickered as she processed the words. Arun held her hand. "We will take care of you," he said. "No one will take what you have learned here from you." Myra's smile widened. Thank you. Friend Arun. Friend all humans." The crew gathered in the common area, celebrating a small victory. Music played, soft and bright, and Myra tried to dance along, awkwardly but joyfully. Laughter filled the room, and she repeated it, her own voice now blending with the humans. For the first time, she felt part of something larger than herself, part of a world that was more than duty, more than orders, more than survival. She had a place. She had friends. She had love, in all its strange, beautiful forms. One afternoon, Arun sat beside her at the observation deck. Myra pointed at a distant star. "Other worlds," she whispered. "Yes," Arun said. "Other worlds out there. Some may be like your people. Some may be like us. But now you know something they do not. You know love. You can carry it with you." "I will teach them," Myra said softly. "Someday, when they are ready." Arun smiled. "And they will learn. Because of you. Because of what you discovered here." As the station orbited above the swirling storms of Jupiter, life moved steadily forward. Myra continued to explore, to learn, to grow. She laughed and sang, she shared meals, and she helped wherever she could. And every time she looked at Arun, she repeated the word that had changed her, shaping her understanding of the universe: love. In the silence of space, amidst the humming of the station and the glow of distant storms, Myra found a home, not a home of walls or rules, but a home of trust, friendship, and care. And in her heart, she carried the knowledge that one small word could bridge worlds, teach strength, and create a new beginning for life that had never known love. For Myra, humanity had become more than a curiosity. It had become a family. And for Arun, seeing her embrace life fully reminded him why humans survived, not only through skill or strength, but through the courage to care for one another. The galaxy beyond Jupiter remained vast and uncertain, full of mysteries, dangers, and wonders. But Myra now faced it with knowledge her people had never known, guided by the lessons of friendship, laughter, and love.